Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Andy Curry, and welcome to today's show. I am really fired up to have on the line with me Vicki Sandler, who has been speaking professionally for 8 years. But she's been doing a lot more than speaking professionally for 8 years because she's got quite a background we'll go over in just a minute. The content she speaks on, she has 2 topics, and one is called Mindset Reset. The second one is called The Superpower in You. I love that. She speaks in the U.S. and internationally. She just got back from speaking in New Zealand recently. She's based out of Phoenix. She has written a book called Find Your Scream, Live Your Dream, Discover Your Inner Leader, and it won 2 awards. And Vicki, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here. That's quite a list of accolades.
Thank you.
That's impressive. Now, when we talked before the interview started, I had asked you about your speaking experience. So you've done a lot more than just professionally speaking. Tell the audience real quickly what you've been doing.
Well, in sum, Andy, I am an energy expert, be it green, electrical, or your own personal energy. I was senior energy counsel for the largest utility in Arizona and actually argued before Supreme Court Justice Scalia. And I then became the CEO of our separate company that was a green energy company for over a decade until it was sold. And I lead an energy association now, but I speak professionally on consciously directing your energy, which is what Mindset Reset is, and on finding the energy within you, which is actually your superpower.
Okay, fascinating. So let's talk about your speaking business. Who is it you're speaking to primarily? What are you teaching them, and how are you helping them?
Good question. I actually have a diverse group of audiences because I'd like to think that much of my message is universal truths. And so I just spoke Friday at the annual Human Resources Conference to human resource professionals. I spoke in New Zealand to business leaders. I love speaking to professional women just because I are one, so to speak. And but really, the message is universal to men or women. Conscious living and leading, which underpins all of that, really gets into why do things happen in your life, in work, that you do not desire when you have the best intent, to have abundance and great relationships and perfect health. And I take you through a process with a bunch of immediately implementable practical tools so that you can direct your energy to achieve what you want and not have it leak out to create what you don't want.
And can you give us an example or 2 of a tool?
Absolutely. So the way the brain works, and I've also had the privilege of working with a lot of neuroscientists, and I've had my brain mapped. It was pretty ugly in the beginning, but I've got it into a peak performance state. And one of the things that I learned that I'll share is that you intend, again, like, Andy, have you ever made a New Year's resolution you didn't keep?
Oh, never.
Okay, well, you do not need my tools. You do not need them.
Actually, probably 99% of them I just quit making them.
With my audiences, I think I have everyone raise their hand. So that's because your conscious mind intends the best for you. But by age 35, which is most of the audience members that I speak to, 95% of your actions, decisions, beliefs, behaviors, judgments, you name it, are memorized, embodied reactions. And guess what? I'll just call that all the unconscious versus the conscious. The unconscious processes information 40 million times faster than your conscious. So you have to hit the reset button, or you're going to repeat those memorized patterns, which may or may not serve you. And here's just a tool. if you'll do it with me right now, Andy.
I'd love to.
So you want to sit up straight, put your feet on the ground, lift your shoulders to your ears, roll them back.
Okay, I got to sit down here. Sit up straight. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, take a deep belly breath in. You should feel your belly coming out. This isn't the time for your skinny jeans, okay? So breathe. Suck it all the way up to your head. And breathe out with an ah. Okay, we got to do it again. Let's do it again. All right, breathe in. And out. Third time. In. And out. Thank you. Dr. Weil, the integrative medicine expert down in Tucson, Arizona, says of all his medical advice and training, slow breathing 3 times is the best medical advice he could give anyone. And if we had visual aids here, I could show you what happened in your body right then, where your heart sent a coherent signal to your brain, like when you tune the radio channel and it's clear. It sent a coherent signal to your brain to have the conscious mind reset so you could choose how you want to behave rather than react. So if you're feeling someone push your hot button, you just want to take 3 breaths.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
Which would also apply if you're having a negative thought that's getting in your way of achieving something, I suppose.
Yes, there's several other tools for that. I actually have a process called the 3A's process. And the first step to mindset reset or, consciously directing your energy, I like to call it, Andy, you would become your own CEO in charge of your life and work. And that's Chief Energy Officer. So that you start getting very conscious where your energy is going. Little Billy in the Family Circus, how he always, sees a shiny object and runs all around the yard rather than taking a straight path. Have you ever seen that?
Right. Yeah, I love that.
Okay, all right. So really, that's what can happen to your energy. It can get drained because you're unconsciously chasing those shiny objects rather than working really smart and putting your energy on what you want to create. And so awareness is the first of the 3 A's. See, I want you to get triple A's here.
Okay.
The second A is acknowledging the resistance and releasing it, and typically it's fear-based. And the third A is taking aligned action. So let me give you a quick analogy that I think everybody will understand. The old Edison light bulbs? That, the regular circular ones versus a twisty CFL bulb?
Yes.
Okay, so if that was still working in your house, when might you change it, Andy?
When it no longer works.
When it no longer works. But what if the first A, you became aware that the CFL bulb or the LED bulb was out? It would do the work with 25% of the energy, emit less heat, and help our environment. But even if you're aware of that benefit, would you change it? You might have to acknowledge some resistance, the second A, because if you grew up like I did with a hyper frugal father, you're not going to throw away a good working bulb. But let's just say you acknowledged, I want to have a more efficient bulb. You still would have to pay maybe $3 versus 30 cents for the old bulb, and believe and trust that it would pay back as promised, and you'd have to go to the store and get one. Let's just say you acknowledged all that resistance, overcame your fear that it wouldn't pay back, and you bought one. Then the third A, you'd actually have to come home, unscrew the old bulb, making space for the new, taking that aligned action, and you would have to throw it away, lest you would be tempted to put it back in when another bulb burns out.
Okay.
And that's the 3A's process. And I use that as a new CEO, and you can use it. I was advised lovingly by my HR director that I wanted people to get to the point too quickly, and I was interrupting them. So I became aware that that wasn't the best leadership trait. Well, I had to acknowledge my resistance that, hey, I was made CEO despite that flaw. And I said, but I want to be a great leader. And I acknowledged my fear that I would forget something. I started writing it down, and I took aligned action and put a pad of paper on my desk. And for 1 month, I checked every time I interrupted and didn't. And you can even ask my husband, he will attest, I am a better listener today.
Awesome.
So that's the process that you can use. Here's a great tool too. Let's just say is there anything you want to change that you admit, on the radio here?
Yes, actually, I sit in front of the computer a lot, and I have what I call computer ADD because the internet is so distracting, and I have a lot of different things that I have to get done, and I'd like to be able to just stick with one and see it all the way through, unless it requires a long time. But I'll find myself thinking about something else that needs done, and I'll stop and think about it, and I'll go and do that, forgetting that I was doing this other thing.
I can relate to that. So you could try something like this. There's a couple things you could do. The first thing that I do every morning, and I am very grateful for the wonderful life that I have. So some things do seem to be working for me. And that's the tools that I like to, encourage others to explore. And that is before I jump out of bed, I lay there for at least 2 minutes, which isn't that long. And I see myself at the end of my day having achieved everything that was most important. But more than visualize, I feel it. I feel that relaxed feeling when you actually have a few moments for yourself because the day, really went the way you hoped. And I see my feet up on the footstool or whatever, is peace for you. And I do that every morning, and lo and behold, things just seem to fall into place. Now, I don't prescribe how that's going to happen. I let God, the divine universe that conspires to give you what you want if you're clear on it, I let it unfold. I allow for some unfolding, and my days go pretty darn well. So that's one tool you could use. When you're at your computer, you could do something very much like what I did with my pad of paper. You could do a little check mark. Got distracted like little Billy by the shiny object on the different internet page, or spent 90 minutes doing something focused. And are you familiar with interval training in a physical arena?
No.
Okay, interval training's like run real fast and then rest, or run up the stairs and then walk.
Okay.
And that creates Olympic athletes will do that for training. Well, they're finding that the brain does best with, quote, I'll call it interval internet training. I just made this up. But anyway, the 90 minutes is you focus on one thing you want to do, get all your speakers lined up, check them all off, and then you go to the next thing. And that you're far more efficient. You actually want to take a 30-minute break. I know that sounds impossible. Try 5 in the beginning. A 5-minute break, get up, walk around, and go back. And just if you can do it for 30 days, you will find that you will save time and energy and have more for self-care.
Well, by golly, I'm going to try that.
All right. Then are you going to have me back in 30 days so you can report to me?
Sure.
Okay, that's a promise. Everyone heard that.
I love that. That's actually really good information. Now, you said lie in bed for 2 minutes and think about actually imagine your day going well and feeling it. Now, the question is, how do you feel that? What's the process?
Exactly. And that is such an astute question, because that is the key to keeping New Year's resolutions, because there's a couple rules of energy. I'm an energy wonk, right? So feeling trumps thinking, because what you've buried in your body and your heart, again, my dad was very frugal. So I actually had to unwind through this process a scarcity mentality. And
Right.
now I have abundance in my life, and I have an abundance mentality because it was buried and I didn't even realize it. And so you have to bring the unconscious, what's buried, to the conscious to change. And feelings trump judgments, and feelings are much faster. So you have to start catching those feelings that don't serve you. and bring them to the conscious. So when you're lying in bed, actually, this is an absolutely proven quantum physics point. It's way beyond the book, The Secret. But the energy, everything's energy. 99.99% of everything is energy. So why do we focus on the material when it's all about your energy, right? And so if you are putting a frequency of energy out into the world that's scarcity, that's what you're going to see back because you're not at the higher frequency of abundance. So you have to shift. And that means you have to feel and believe that abundance is a reality for you. So you could lay in bed and just picture everything. How would you feel if you didn't have to do these interviews, Annie, and you had gazillions of dollars? So however it means for you, however it would, show up in your life, you've just got to feel as if you're in it.
Okay.
It just takes practice.
Sure. Now, what you're talking about, I've done a lot of studying on the energy and such as Wayne Dyer, who, by the way, passed away yesterday.
I know. And if you've got to go, I want to live balls to the wall and be gone.
Yes. And boy, sadly missed. But
Yes.
anyway, he talks a lot about the energy and everything is energy.
Yes.
And even the quantum physics folks have the total explanation for that if you have time to sit down and listen to what they say. But I totally agree. The energy thing is definitely the big deal.
It's just that most people are unconscious that they're exuding an energy that's at a low, dense, incoherent frequency, like that radio channel that, is not clear. That actually, I have pictures of it. Some are on my website, vickysandler.com, and you can see it's like if you had an up and down wave that's very smooth, it's just chaotic. Up, down, short, tall. It's just chaotic, which is what happens. Think if you get confused and you just can't figure out a problem and things aren't going well for you, your energy's garbled up.
Yes.
And see, when you breathe, and I have many other breathing exercises, a gratitude breathing is a fantastic one. I don't know if we have time for that, but
go ahead.
Okay, all right. So this one, actually, I've got pictures of with an EEG cap on my head and a heart rate monitor on, and I can prove that what this does inside you is take all that garbled out. All right, so this will take 90 seconds. So again, you're sitting, hopefully. Your feet are flat on the floor. Your shoulders, bring them up to your ears and roll them back. All right. Now let's get back into that good belly breathing where you breathe in.
Okay.
Hold it in your head and out. You actually want to exhale more breaths than you inhale. So go ahead and breathe in, hold, and out. All right, now I want you to close your eyes because that shuts out 80% of the external environment. And I want you to breathe and out. And I want you to see the face of someone who's so important in your life, who got you to this moment, sitting here doing these interviews right now. See that special person and look right into their eyes. And take your arms and put them right around that person and squeeze them as if your life depended on it.
Okay.
Take some breaths. Okay. Now take your arms, cross them, put them up to your shoulders, and give yourself a great big virtual hug. Smile and open your eyes. Do you feel more relaxed?
Definitely.
Because gratitude is the attitude of love, and love is a high coherent frequency. And when you're in the doldrums, if you can just breathe and think of something you're grateful for, it actually changes the energy within. The heart sends a signal to the brain. It emits oxytocin, the love drug. And what that does, it's like a prophylactic, shall we say, for the fear-based, ego-driven part of the brain. And it just kind of puts a cover on it so that it can't stress you out.
That is awesome information. If I could add to that, I watched a short interview of Steve Harvey and Oprah Winfrey the other day, and she was interviewing him about his daily thing. And he says he lies in bed for 10 minutes and just thinks of all the stuff he's grateful for, because that's just how he starts out his day. Because when you started out feeling grateful, it's just everything is great from there on.
Yep, there we go too.
Well, shoot, that was really neat information, Vicki. Thank you so much for that. Now let's give the listeners your website again and how to get a hold of you should they want to hear you speak and know more.
All right, VickiSandler.com. And I speak all over. Like I mentioned to you, I have a 30-day video program that it goes through the 3 A's principles, the whole conscious living and leading mindset reset. It even goes somewhat into the superpower within you, all in 30 days, 2 to 3 minute videos delivered at your workstation, at home or at work. And then you can start your day with how you want to be. They have a little short story, a moral, and how you can apply it in your life. I'm very excited about that because people are busy and it seems to fit their busy lifestyle. Actually, for your listeners, for 1 week, I have a special. It's normally $99. And if you put in the code Elevated Energy for the next 7 days, you'll get it for $39. So a little over $1 a day, less than Starbucks.
Awesome. And quite a bit more healthier. For sure.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Speaking of which, I have decided I'm quitting coffee starting tomorrow. I've been planning this all the way up. Today was my last day. So there you go.
Good for you. Good for you.
Well, Vicki, thank you so much for pulling that curtain and showing us what's going on in your life. You gave the listeners some terrific information, and I really urge listeners to go out there and know more. So again, thank you. It was fascinating.
Thank you, too.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.